name is Panos Panay, and I am the founder and CEO of Sonic Bits.
How did you come up with the idea for Sonic Bids?
Well, I was a talent agent for many years before I started Sonic Bits. I used to book pretty well-known artists around the world. Through my experience of being an agent, that frankly was the seed of the idea of Sonic Bits. So, as I've told the story many times to folks, I used to get bombarded with press kits from artists who wanted to get booked by us. We used to have an informal rule among the people in the agency that if anybody made under $3,000 a night, we would not be able to take them on as a client. It made no financial sense for us. And if you stop and think about that for a minute, how many folks do you know that make $3,000 a night? I mean, not that many people. So I thought, gee, well, where do all these people go that are trying to get booked that don't fit within this sort of financial benchmark that we have? This was the late 90s, and at the time, believe it or not that many things were occurred online. So I started thinking, well, if you can buy books online and if you can buy airplane tickets online and trade stocks online, why can't a band go online and connect with a music promoter and get a gig and search and find gigs based on their own criteria? So that was the birth of Sonic Bits in many ways. This very simple concept, of creating a site that enabled any band on the planet to come and connect with anybody out there who was looking to book music. So here we are, almost 10 years later.
When do you think a band is ready to join your site and use it to its full capacity?
I think they're ready once they have a pretty clear vision of what they want to do with their career. So if a band just formed and don't really have a concept of where they want to take this, or they're not yet serious about pursuing this as a legitimate means of generating income, then I would say we're too soon for them, not because we're expensive, but because frankly, the primary thing for them to do is to connect with music promoters, and if they're just reaching out to folks and they're not serious about getting booked, or worse, they're just submitting to things willy-nilly without a broader plan in mind, then I think frankly going to spend a lot of time and a lot of money and not really get much for it in return. So the best time for a band to join Sonic Bits is once they've realized and they've made up their minds that they want to pursue this in a serious manner. They have their music together. They have a clear vision of where they want to go. They've put together, at least in their heads, a business plan for where they want to go with their music. So for me, that's the best time for a band to join Sonic Bits. If they're just a bunch of hobbyists or people who just got together and they're mostly gigging in grandma's garage, then we're not yet. They shouldn't come to Sonic Bits just yet.
Are there any tips that you would give artists on how to use the site to their advantage?
Yeah, several. First, have a plan and stick to it. So as I mentioned, if you're just submitting to different things willy-nilly all over the world, then you're not going to be successful. But if you say, gee, my particular plan is to get more gigs at colleges, or play more coffee shops, or use a major music conference like South by Southwest as an anchor to book a broader tour, or my plan is to develop Europe as a market, then for me, you have the right approach. So number one, have a plan. Number two, be aware of the fact that if you're not online, then for a whole lot of people you don't exist. So spend some time online in general in terms of your Facebook presence, your MySpace presence, your Last.fm presence, your Twitter presence, because without sort of this tool set, you won't be able to be as successful as you need to be. One of the first things that any promoter does once they've reviewed your electronic press kit on Sonic Bits is to say, okay, well, how many Twitter followers does this band have? Or how many times has their music been played on Last.fm? Or how many MySpace followers do they have? So that's another important consideration. Number three, take good care of your electronic press kit on Sonic Bits. Don't just slap a photo or write a shoddy bio or take 1 second to write your elevator pitch or put songs in any willy-nilly order or just put any kind of photograph or video up there. You know, be strategic in your thinking. Spend time with your electronic press kit, because any promoter, the first thing they're going to do is take a look at your electronic press kit and say, well, does it look like this band has put time and energy into it? And if so, they'll go to the next stage of review. If not, they'll move on to the next band. So spending time with your press kit is important. And the fourth thing that I would say is make sure that your band, you keep your Sonic Bits calendar up to date. I can't stress that enough. The most common way that a promoter will judge how good, judge an artist and make determinations about how good they are is based on their history, their touring history. So if they go to their Sonic Bits electronic press kit and that calendar section is not complete, or it looks like they're just playing a few local gigs, or worse, they have nothing coming up for the next, 10 months, then they'll move to the next thing. So those four things: have a plan, boost your social media presence, spend time with your EPK, and make sure your calendar is up to date, are the four things that I would suggest to any band to do.
What about tips for promoters? Any tips for promoters who may be looking for artists, or how they could take advantage of Sonic Bids?
Yeah, definitely. When they're putting up their description on Sonic Bids or their gig listing, be as specific as possible. Avoid things like all genres accepted, because for a fact, no promoter is looking for all genres. I don't know anybody who's looking for both death metal and children's music and classical music at the exact same time. Upload photos of your event. They make a big difference. If bands are submitted, make sure you get back to them on time, that you're diligent in your review process, that you select the number of bands you commit to, and then once you select artists, actively solicit them to come and post good, positive reviews about you, because that makes a very big difference. I would say be proactive about promoting your own gig listing. Don't just expect that just through the Sonic Bits network alone. You should rely on us if you're a promoter just to do all your promotion. Make sure that you undertake your own promotional activities as well. And then, if you book a band, work your tail off to make sure that they get their values worth. Just like it's important for a band's reputation to promoters, for a promoter to have a good experience with them, it's an important thing for a promoter's reputation with artists, for the artist to have a good experience with a promoter. So that's my brief overview over there.
How does the acquisition of artist data affect the way Sonic Bids can now operate?
Up until now, Sonic Bids has been all about helping bands get gigs. With artist data, we take that to the next step. We want bands and promoters to not just get gigs using Sonic Bids, but we also want to ensure that those gigs are successful. And artist data, the tools that we're incorporating from artist data into Sonic Bids, fundamentally do one thing. They help a band and eventually a promoter to go out there and promote this gig and enable it to be successful. So fundamentally, Sonic Bids is all about the gig. It's all about connecting bands and music promoters. So with artist data, we're taking it a step further. We're saying you don't just come to Sonic Bids just to connect with a promoter and to get a gig. You come to Sonic Bids to get a gig, and we help you make that gig successful for you.
Can you explain the current partnership with Musicians Friend?
Yes, staying on the theme of gigs. Right now, all gig listings on Sonic Bids cost money every time you apply to them. We want to be the place where a band can come and connect with every gig listing on the planet, with every gig that exists. So one of the things that this will enable us to do through our relationship with Musicians Friend is actually remove the restriction that every time you apply the gig, you have to pay a certain amount of money. So with Musicians Friend, we will be launching what will eventually be thousands and thousands of gig listings sponsored by Musicians Friend, for which bands don't have to pay a penny to apply to. So it is very consistent with our vision for Sonic Bids to be the place that every band comes to connect with any gig that exists out there. And it's also very consistent with our mission, helping a new class of artists that we call an artistic middle class to have the right tools out there to grow and develop their music careers. And obviously one of those tools is to have the large
there any plans for the future that you can reveal?
Our focus will remain to be the place that bands come to connect with gigs and promoters come to find bands. So frankly, our plans for the future are a lot more about improving that connection between bands and promoters and giving tools to both sides to become successful. So we plan to remain very, very focused on that. And then over the past couple of years, we've developed a division on Sonic Biz that we call Sonic Biz Brands, where we work with consumer brands as a means of, well, sponsoring a lot of these promoters and a lot of these artists, and by extent reaching the fans of both. So we see this sort of nice trio of bands, brands, and music promoters as really formulating the nucleus of what Sonic Biz is all about. For us, brands, consumer brands are in many ways the new record labels and the new funders of art and the new promoters of art. So again, it is all, however, with that very basic and very central mission we have of connecting bands with promoters and helping both of them becoming successful.
For more exclusive interviews and content, please check out entertainmentlinks.com.